Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. Today I am starting a new mini-series on this channel. Definitely not an original idea, by the way. I do not know who started this, but I've seen so many videos of this going back years and years back. So like, I'm so sorry, I don't know who has started this, but whoever had, like, such a great idea. Thank you. I believe it was a blog, so if I can find it, I'll link it down below. If I can, then I'm sorry. I'm of course talking about book recommendations based on your Hogwarts house, and I feel like it's due, isn't it? Foreshadowed that I should probably do this thing. And of course I'm gonna kickstart this off with my own house, Gryffindor! And I have selected 8 books for each house for one reason or another that I personally think fit into those Hogwarts houses. It's not necessarily like, you know, book recommendations that I think only Gryffindors would enjoy, not at all. I think if you're looking for that kind of vibe, those are the books that I think would fit into Gryffindor. I don't know what this was. Vibe? Wave? Before I start, I want you guys to think of all of the books that you have read, and if you have one that really speaks of Gryffindor for you, obviously other than Harry Potter, I would love for you to recommend that down below for us all as well. I have all of the other houses prepped, I promise. I know I still need to do a Hufflepuff makeup tutorial thing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, this was not intentional whatsoever. I just don't really feel like doing a makeup video and it's just been so long, I'm sorry. I will though at some point. I actually have already filmed this one, but you know how all of my files got lost of when my hard drive died? Yeah, that one was one of them. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the book recommendations. I'll try and keep it relatively quick because I don't want this to be like a too long of a video. So in no particular order as well, the first book that I would like to recommend is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Now this main character, oh my god, she's one of the most like obnoxiously Gryffindor character ever. Like she's so chivalrous in that overly like dramatic way. She's not actually chivalrous, she's just like, she'll speak weirdly sometimes, but she jumps into any type of danger, she takes risks, she does not always think before she does, but she's aware at least, so that's good. Spencer is a character of action. This is a book about a girl who has always dreamed to be a pilot in this world where they have to live underground because they keep getting these attacks on this planet. Is this a sci-fi book? I don't know if I mentioned it, but it is a sci-fi book and it's very approachable. Even if you're not into sci-fi or have never read sci-fi before, you would be completely fine going into this one. So yeah, Spencer is a character who actually loses her father, and he is marked as a traitor or a coward, and this has been a word that has been like put onto her while she was growing up, and she has been treated badly because of it, and she wants to get into a pilot academy what her father was, and she really does not believe that he's done anything to deserve the title and the shame that has basically been brought onto the family after his passing, and she wants to basically get to the bone of it, of what the hell happened and why everything is how it is. But we of course get into like a bigger overarching story, and she gets into oh hello, hi, and a whole bigger plot that goes beyond her personal vendetta. But she is just such a Gryffindor, like the painful kind, like the actually, you know, like cringe, painful, like why are you doing this kind of type. But it is very amusing and it's very entertaining to read, so definitely recommend this book if you're looking for something like that. There's also quite a bit of humor in this, which I also think that Gryffindor is a humorous house. Like I feel like they take a piss out of each other and themselves like on a daily. It's like, it's what we would do, is how I imagine it. So another reason why I think this book like represents it so well. On an entirely different note, there's The Hate You Give. The Hate You Give is a book all based on Black Lives Matter movement. And I've actually recently watched the movie and I really enjoyed the movie. I actually stopped in the middle and asked Logan to join me and rewatch the first half. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the book was important. I didn't actually like the writing style as much. I do not think that this is like a masterful writing example, but it is an important book and I know it is beloved by a lot of people. It is by Angie Thomas and it is about a girl who is basically living two different lives. One at home, where she lives in sort of like a ghetto area. Then the second life is at her school, which is basically filled with white people, and she's almost like a token black girl, and she just acts quite differently there. And one day she meets her old friend in a party back at home, and then on the way back home they get stopped by a police, and he is unarmed. However, the officer does end up murdering him. It has a lot of complicated layers, which I really appreciate about the background of said victim and how it makes it difficult for her to come forward and speak up about what happened and her seeking justice. And it was such a coming of age story, but also the amount of bravery that she had to have during that period of her life is insane, and that is why this is here. Next up we have The Call by Peter Gullin, and this is an Irish-based, by an Irish author, book, and it's all about the Fae, that basically a dystopian world where everybody gets, well, every adolescent person gets a call and is transported to this Fae land, and Fae are absolutely savage people who will hunt you down for 24 hours, although it's only 3 minutes in our life. They'll hunt you down and they'll like literally eat your life or morph you into something horrible. It's actually quite a scary book. And there is this school that tries to prep the teenagers to be as prepared as possible to maybe raise their already very poor chances of surviving the call just a little bit, you know? And our main character actually is physically disabled in this, and so everyone has already written her off, and she is just not give a crap. She wants to prove everyone wrong and survive this and show them all, basically the Fae and the people. And I think it showed such resilience to all of the odds, and everything is just like, I really enjoyed it. When I read this, hence I read it so long ago, I don't know if my opinion would change, but I really enjoyed my experience with this. It was chilling and I really enjoyed it. Next up then we have Avatar comics. I do have them, but they're very hard to reach at the moment, so I didn't want to make a mess. I'm just gonna insert a picture here. Avatar The Last Airbender is such a big part of my life. I can't stop by smiling. I watched it when I was growing up. Well, not really, I was like late teens, but whatever. Still growing up, right? Always growing up. Clearly, you know, whatever. We watch the animation every couple of years, at least once, and there are comic books that are released for that one, so I would highly recommend those. And obviously the whole story is about Avatar, who is a bender of all 4 elements rather than just one, and he as a young kid is basically forced to deal with this war that is happening because an Avatar is supposed to be a keeper of peace. And the amount of bravery and acts that they had to do as a team, like the whole team of them at such a young age, and just again resilience and the humor and like the taking piss out of each other part and the nerve that they show, like it really, like the whole Avatar series is just Gryffindor to me. Like I don't know, it's just to the core bravery, like personal bravery to like confront your own fear. There's, you know, Skyward type of bravery where Spencer is just like obnoxious, and then there's bravery to confront whatever is happening inside of you, and I think Avatar does that so well. But since this is a book recommendation, there's Rise of Kyoshi coming up actually fairly soon, which I'm very excited about. It's the book by basically a prequel, because Kyoshi was a previous Avatar. So very excited, but before that there's also comics, so I hope you guys grab that if you're a fan of the show, because I would really recommend, if you grab any, read The Surge, because Zuko's mother's past is explained in that one, which is something that was such a big cliffhanger when the series ended. So here is that. Speaking of confronting your own fears, let's talk about dark matter, but also let's not talk about it too much, because this is a book that I really recommend going into like fairly blind. But in short, this is about a guy who is basically kidnapped out of his own life, put in a place that is very hard to come back from, and then he tries his best to get back to his wife and to not lose everything. I'm not gonna say anything else. This is a thriller that like, I know a lot of you guys have read already because I keep gushing about it, and I thank you so much for those who have messaged or left a comment saying how much they loved it. It makes me so happy. This I read in one sit. I could not put it down. I read into the night. I needed to know what happened. It's absolutely a page turner. I loved it a lot. Of course not for everyone, but I just thought the things that this person had to deal with, you know, I would definitely rather go through the whole like Chamber of Secrets shebang than like deal with what had happened here, because that is scary. Another one that I think a lot of you guys will probably agree with me is The Hunger Games. I feel like I never talk about the fact that I have actually read The Hunger Games, and I mean, if Katniss is not just the embodiment of bravery and sacrifice and like the chosen one and whatnot, that I don't know what is. Obviously her act of replacing her sister's like duty with herself could be also very, very Hufflepuff, but I think the personality that she attached with it and what followed was very Gryffindor. So The Hunger Games, I feel like I really don't need to introduce anything else with this. I'm just gonna move on. The next one is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is a story about 4 different Londons. The red London is the main London with magic, grey London is where we live, black London is where basically doesn't exist anymore because the dark magic destroyed it. And there are Antari who can travel between those Londons, but there's only a couple left in the world, and our main character is one of them. And he sort of gets in a little bit of trouble because he sometimes likes to get trinkets and basically like a niffler collects stuff from place to place. And he gets in a little bit of trouble from bringing something because that is actually illegal. And one of the items that he sort of ends up taking is the cause of everything that unraveled, and it like screwed a lot of people. And yeah, and then he stumbles across this other character, Lila Bard, who is a very strong but very, very selfish character. And I feel like this series is actually kind of hard for me to put in the house, but I really wanted to include it because I do feel that a lot of people will like it. I don't think you will either like or love this series. I don't know if people hate it, you know? So I am definitely a person who likes the series and loves the 3rd book because I think it was a really strong end to the trilogy. But the first one was like a like for me. But if I had to come up with a house for it, it would be Gryffindor because I feel like there's so much of that vibe going on into this one as well. First of all, it's very adventurous. You obviously travel from one London to another and you meet a lot of people, and there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of conflict and bravery and things that are really hard to face with, and sacrifice and stuff like that. So I definitely think this is a Gryffindor read if you're looking for one. And then last but not least, a very recent edition, which I would not have had included if I used my old files, so not that I have them, but you know. It is an Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir, one of my favorites. Well, one of my new favorites. I really need to continue with the series to see if it's gonna be like an actual favorite. An Ember in the Ashes is about a girl who is stripped of basically all of her family in one night. It has a very tragic beginning, and she is a person who constantly tells herself that she's not brave actually. She feels so bad because she's not brave because she is actually a daughter of someone who was the resistance leader. So the expectation is already really high, but she really does not feel like it. However, I think the story is Gryffindor because she pushes herself through that fear and through all of her doubts and does the stuff that she needs to do regardless. But the story is about her going basically undercover as a slave and infiltrating the enemy system and meeting a guy there who also does not want to be part of it, and he's a soldier and he wants to get out of it, but it's very much impossible. Obviously it grows into a bigger type of arc that goes again above their personal needs and motives. So again, I think it is a very Gryffindor read and I highly recommend this one. That actually sums up our 8 recommendations for the Gryffindor house. I'm very excited to continue with the series. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'd recommend watching other people's ones as well because I always enjoy it, and you know, it's just a little bit of fun. Obviously every person would probably sort these books into other houses. If you disagree with one of my choices, let me know which house you would prefer for that book, and don't forget to recommend each other a book that is a Gryffindor one in your eyes. And also obviously let me know if you do agree with me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Stay awesome, stay kind. I'll see you next time. Bye!